been quite a while, but I used to say, when you get there, where you are, Luke, yeah, it's time to no longer be interested in thoughts at all. It's now time to put the mind down. It's done its job. All we can do with the mind, yeah, this is important.
Yeah.
All we can do with the mind is use the mind to come to an understanding of what we're not.
Yeah.
That's all. Okay? Once that's done, once you've achieved that, once you've seen that, then it's time to put it down. I mean that.
Yeah.
Put it down. Yeah. Then you're left with just consciousness and awareness. So instead of being in a position of being conscious of, which is where we live as human beings, we're conscious of all sorts of things throughout the course of the day. Instead of doing that, which is even being conscious of thoughts, and you've been conscious of thoughts, you know, we've been using other thoughts to work out, is there a me here or not a me here? And okay, that's using the mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, of consciousness and awareness that you are experiencing right here, right now. Yeah. So I used to say, when you get to where you are now, you've been in a position of being conscious of. Now it's time to stop and do a 180-degree turnaround. And instead of being conscious of the myriad of things that you're normally conscious of as a human being, it's now time just to be conscious of this. Or the other word that I sometimes use is aware of consciousness only. Still sounds like two. Yeah. Still sounds binary.
Yeah.
Still sounds like I'm trying to get you to be aware of consciousness. It's okay. It's just a pointer. I'm just trying to get you to focus on one thing, which is consciousness itself, which you are that, by the way. You are conscious.
Yeah, could it be like the fact of being, like the fact of?
You could.
Yeah, that's the because the problem with I've done that sort of practice set, and that's something I do quite often. But somehow the issue seems to be that that's the reason why I've been trying to focus on thoughts has been because then when I'm focusing on consciousness or the fact of being aware or aware of consciousness, the thoughts can slip in somewhere and then they just carry me away.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I understand. That that it's a bit like that jaw-dropping experience that I was telling you about. Holy shit, what's this?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's this? Because if you've been identifying this as being Luke your whole life, and then all of a sudden it dawns, oh my God, it's not Luke. It's never been a Luke. It can't be a Luke. Like when that's, yeah, then you're left with, holy shit. And you just stay with the,
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I've had these sort of experiences where, the awareness of consciousness has been sort of more clear, where it's like it's this existence that doesn't really have any, it doesn't, it doesn't, it doesn't have qualities, or it's not like material, or it's not a thought, but it's just this sort of existence. Sometimes that's being more clear than other times. Sometimes it's harder to even be excited about it. It's just like, oh, and then sometimes like, I can't exist it. I can't exist it. Where can I find it? Stupid thoughts, but
yeah. It's a bit like, you could ask yourself the question, where does sound come from?
I know there's really no answer to that. I just wanted to sort of like I've done that sort of practicing and all. It's very interesting where the sound comes from, because there's the image of sound and what sound is, and then there's the experience of whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then also like from where do I hear that? And it's like, especially with sounds, it's the mental, images and point of views when it comes to listening to sounds are quite like strong in a way where they're not easy for me to bypass or like not get caught up in and believe in. Sometimes it's just the sounds like, I don't know where the fuck it is, but it's somewhere that's here, that's like nowhere,
Try
and
this
there's
on.
no space really. There's just
Try
a sound.
try this on. Just
Okay.
see what this does in the immediacy. Just see what this does. Yeah. Sound comes from silence. And a sound will also disappear back into that silence. That might be something that you can sit with, yeah. But it's the same as consciousness. Now, what could we say about the silence? If that's true, if the statement that I just made is true, sound comes from silence, yeah. The hell could we say about silence? If the statement's true, then what could we say about silence? Yeah. Yet, sound emanates from silence. There's a lot we could say about sound, lots we could say about sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Consciousness is the same. In the absence of consciousness, there's no space and there's no things. In the absence of consciousness, things and space manifest from consciousness. Sound manifests from silence.
It's hard to sort of imagine. There's, if there were no consciousness, it's hard to imagine, because there's always, when you're imagining something, there's always something. You can't imagine nothing. It's not possible. And something that I've also done with thoughts, especially when like looking at the thoughts, has been like, okay, where did the thoughts come from? And sort of seeing the latest insights that I've sort of feel like saying is the thoughts come from the same place that I come from as well. It's like the thought and the me come as one. They're like, when there's no thought, there's the feeling of the the feeling of the thinker comes with the thought.
Yeah.
From the same place. That is no place really. But as soon as the thought comes up, it creates this sort of space there's the thought, and then there's me. But before that, before there's the thought of where and what, there really isn't any where's the what's.
Yeah. So I mean, we started talking about duality, which is appropriate. That's where we needed to start. But okay, what could you succinctly say? And it still wouldn't be it, so I'll acknowledge that. But what could you succinctly say about non-duality?
No things. That would be my answer. No things.
Yeah. What would be another way of putting that? You're right. What would be another way of putting it? If there's no things, what would be another way of putting that?
Nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
What about one?
One.
Without parts.
Yeah. But for
No
me, that's
parts.
sort of, yeah, but when it sort of feels wrong to imagine
I'm
as something as one, because
not
then
asking you to
it's
imagine it.
yeah.
But if we understand, yeah, it's very difficult to put into words what
Yeah.
non-duality means. Very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. All sorts of different, terminologies that get used. The one that I like is one without a second, or a third, or a fourth, or a fifth, or a sixth, or a seventh, or
Yeah. So it's like an absolute, if that makes sense.
correct.
It's just
Correct.
all there is
Yeah.
or could ever be.
Yeah, and it's not composed of things.
Yeah.
One, but for argument's sake, right?
Yeah.
One. Good. Now, if that's true, if that's actually true,
Hmm.
then where do thoughts come from?
Well, I could answer that they come from it, but that wouldn't be like correct in a way where they would be separate from it in any way.
Why? If it's the creator of it, why would it have to be separate from it? Why?
Because
Because
when
it's
we're talking
not
about,
composed of things.
yeah, because if everything's one and then thoughts come from it, then that would automatically mean that, well, then there would be
Now,
parts.
now there seems to be parts.
Yeah.
Now there seems to be things
Hmm.
because of thoughts. It's all seemingly. You're constantly told it's an illusion. It's a dream. Constantly told that.
Yeah.
Yeah. One. If we can imagine one. One. Absolute. One. Yeah. Doesn't
Hmm.
consist of parts. You can't add anything to it. You can't take anything away from it. One. What kind of experience would that be?
There's honestly like no sort of, I can't answer the question. I don't
Yeah.
get any sort of like answers. They don't come up.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, it's
Yeah.
blank.
Yeah. And that's the right answer.
Yeah.
But that is the right answer. So to have a seeming experience, what must one do?
To have a seeming experience, what has one do?
What must one do? Yeah.
Well, have thoughts.
We'd have to create a duality, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And what is it that you're aware of that's dualistic? It's just thoughts.
Yeah.
Only. In the absence of all thoughts, it's non-dual.
Yeah, but the one without a second or other,
Mm. Mm.
it's like, well, in my personal experience, if I think about life or experience, like have memories or anything, like
Mm.
there really hasn't been, you know, it's all thoughts that say that there's a second or another person, because otherwise it's
Absolutely.
just like
Yeah.
there's just
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
If and it's
Yeah. Look, you know what? A lot of the answers, Luke, that we seek aren't answered until we find. Then a whole lot of things just go click, 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 falls into place. That can't fall into place until there's a finding that happens, until the finding happens. It's the first time I've used that terminology, but
Yeah.
Yeah, like the primary pulse is love. And I wouldn't have known that. I didn't know that. Now I know that. I just know that.
Yeah.
The primary pulse of all life, of that one, is love. Now, you can look at it exists in all human beings innately. The simple love to be. The love to be. Yeah, we'd do anything to keep ourselves alive. The love to be. Someone was threatening your life right now, you'd fight to keep alive. Yeah. It's innate in all of us. The love to be. That one, the primary pulse from that one was the love to be. To be, it's got to create two. And then it's got to forget, when it's created the two, it's got to forget it's done that. To then have a seeming experience. To then have a seeming experience. Otherwise, if it didn't forget, it would just remain as one and couldn't have any experience. Primary pulse, love. Boom. That's also your primary love. The thing you love the most is the love to be. Without that beingness, you'd be dead. Simple. Yeah. The love to be. And that creates the seeming two, that creates the seeming duality, that creates the story of a Luke or the story of a Terry or the story of life or whatever, is the mind. So if we go back to who or what is responsible for thoughts, who or what is responsible for all is the one. And as my teacher said to me time and time and time again, after he made that statement, and you, Terry, thou art that. I used to sit there and go, what the fuck? I'm the one? What the fuck? What? He kept saying it, and he kept saying it, and he kept saying it.
Yeah.
And one day it just dawns. It just dawns. And it's up to the one for it to dawn, not the character.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I hope you're aware, I'm not speaking to Luke right now. Why would I waste my time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, that hasn't felt like let's say the me has been here for a longer period now. Like it's just been pleasant.
Good.
Pleasant, just sort of open.
Good. Which is why I asked you the
experience.
question a little while ago. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? And a big smile came up on your face. You know. You already know this.
Yeah, and then the only reason why there would be like sort of like this is like oh, I need to wake up, or I can't meditate or whatever. But it's funny because it's sometimes it's so much clearer than the other
Yeah.
times, even though that's even like,
Mm.
and that's the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah. And you know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news,
Mm,
but there's no one there to awaken.
yeah.
See, look, all that happens, honestly, yeah,
Mm,
all that happens is eventually this bloody thing stops creating a loop.
yeah.
And
Mm,
here you are. Yeah. Once the truth is seen, once the truth is known, yeah, this stops bullshitting.
yeah.
It just stops. Every now and then it might, you know, oh, you go, hang on a minute, what the fuck? And it just goes boom, and it'll drop again.
Mm,
Yeah, for a little while that can happen. Yeah, but you know, it's where we are, where we live, where you actually are, is right here, right now, and you're never not anywhere else other than right here, right now, and you know, 999 times out of 1,000. If you check at any given point in time during the course of your day, just
mm,
stop, pause, do what I call a reality check. Just stop and pause. Yeah. And look around. Just look around. Yeah.
mm,
What's wrong? Just ask yourself the question, what's wrong? Look under your chair if you want. Look behind the
yeah.
laptop, you know, like what's going on? There's nothing going on. It's all okay.
Mm,
Yeah. And the only thing that could be possibly saying it's not okay would be
mm,
that.
yeah.
That's what I meant by there comes a time where you got to put it down. Stop
I'm done
taking it.
playing with you.
Yeah, exactly. Like I couldn't have said that better. That's perfect. Yes, I'm done playing with you. Yeah.
Who is though?
Could only be one.
Mm.
There could only be
But
one that
it's
sees.
just so simple. It's just
It
so
is.
simple.
It is. It for God's sake, it is. And how we miss it is beyond me. But we miss it until we don't. But we
Mm,
miss it. It's just like, how the hell do we miss this? And we keep missing it until we don't. And when you see it, you'd be like, how the fuck? It's so
mm,
obvious. It's so obvious. It's like there's two things going on. There's a reality that's happening right here, right now, which is where we live, in the
mm,
immediacy of now. Yeah. And that now is not an increment, it's just constantly on now. Yeah. There's that's going on. And this is where we're conscious, we're aware, where we experience things, where the seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and smelling happens, life happens, and like right here, so there's this that's going on. And the only other thing that's going on is the mind. Now
mm,
it just becomes abundantly clear at some point. You just ask yourself, where do I want to live?